Well, we're going to get started in just a couple of minutes. Welcome everybody. I know that it's your 4th of July if you're in America, so thank you for giving up some of your free time. Thank you for giving up your free time. I really appreciate you being here. So I'm going to get started in just a second. Right, I'm going to get underway. So if you came last week or if you looked at online, you will have noticed that I went through and I created several viewports. So if we just have a look to see what I created that viewport, that one, and I went through and created some of these. These have a bit more information on them now because I've done some more work. There's something missing there, so let's repair that one. We've got a roof framing plan, floor framing, and we've got elevations. So today I'm going to create these elevations again. So let's delete those, and I'll delete all the markers that go with them. And I've got elevation notes to go on there. So maybe if we get time, we'll do keynotes as well. So there's my sections. I want to get rid of those because I'm going to draw the sections today. And yes, let's get rid of the markers that go with that. So details, if we have time, we'll go create our detail drawings. And I'd love to cover this as well. This is our graphic legend, and this graphic legend is actually calculated or found all of my windows and it's presented the elevation. It's an elevation in exactly the form that I want. It's got the dimensions I want, it picks up the window number, and it's picked up the size of the lintel. So that's really cool. So let's just have a look if there's any questions. I don't see any chat just yet. So if you're there and you've got a question, don't forget to hit the live chat and drop a question for me. So that's what we're going to go through today. Let's start with the cover sheet. What would be really handy is if I put some images on here. So back to my drawing, I'm going to have a look here, back to my design layers. I'm not sure which one of these I need to select because I think they'll all be there. So there's my image. I want to turn this image into something that I can use on my cover sheet. So I'm just going to zoom out a little bit just to get my view the way I want. Now let's make that into a viewport. So view, create viewport, and this is going on the cover sheet, and this is view 1. View 1, I'm going to stick it on my cover sheet. This is my view from, this is from the east, I think. View from the east. And sometimes what I do is I just copy that, stick it up here, and I put VP at the end of it, so when I'm looking for my viewports, I'll be able to find that. So what layers have I got? What class have I got? It's actually displaying exactly what I've got at the moment, and let's OK that. So let's go. Okay, so there's my view on my cover sheet. Now I'm not sure I want it that scale, so I'm going to make it a custom scale. I'm just going to squeeze it, and let's make it 1 to 120. There it is. So it's just a little bit smaller. I'm going to drag a copy of this down because I'm lazy, but also it makes it really quick to change this view. So let's go back and we'll edit the camera view this time. And if we edit the camera view and turn the view round, let's just get the view we want that view there. When I return to the viewport, I've actually got a new updated view. So that's a really quick way of creating multiple views. Now often I use the camera to do this, but I just wanted to show you that you can do it anyway. So I've got my views. I tell you what would be really fun is to take a copy of that. I'm just going to try it out. Let's take a copy of that. Let's turn off the roof and see what happens when we turn off the roof layer. What does it look like? So that's our viewport. We'll go to our layers. We've got our ceiling. We'll turn that off. We'll turn off our roof. And I think I'll turn off. Let's have a look, see what that looks like. Oh, it's okay. But I tell you, here's a cool trick. Why don't we edit the camera? That's nice. Okay, so we could do that. But how about we do this trick where we go and look at the advanced properties and we'll display with clip cube. Cool. Now let's go back and edit the camera. Now you can turn the clip cube on afterwards, which is pretty cool. So that we should have a clip cube around, probably around everything at the moment. There's our clip cube there. So it's actually gone around absolutely everything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in, because what I want is I want my clip cube to chop most of my windows off. Let's do that. Oh, it's gone down. It's gone too far. There. Okay. So I've chopped off most of my plan. When I go out, let's update this. It should have used my clip cube. Now I might have to change my rendering style with that. Custom render works. It's shaded rendering. It should have chopped the top of my walls off. I wonder why. Let's do that again. Edit camera. It hasn't got a clip cube on it. Oh yeah, there's my clip cube. So it's still got. So it still remembers that I want a clip cube. So I'm going to bring this in a lot. And maybe I forgot to do something with that. Let's bring that in. Pull this one in. And we'll pull that down. And I want it to come down to about there. Okay, let's return to my viewport. And that should add the clip cube. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to leave it, because I thought that was a cool trick. No, it's not doing it. So I'm not sure what I did wrong. I'm sure it works, but otherwise, make the clip cube first. So we've got that. Don't forget to leave a comment. I'm looking for your questions. I'm keeping an eye on it. So let's go back to this. So we've got our cover sheet. We've got our site plan. Now you might be curious why the site plan's at the strange angle. Maybe it would be better for us to come back, turn on our floor. So let's turn on floor 1. Okay. And so now you can see why it was at that angle, because I've got that information on there. Now for a site plan, there's information here we don't want to see. So I'm going to use my visibility tool. This one. Now I can either use classes to turn things off, or I can use objects, which is really cool, I reckon, because you can just go, I don't want to see that car, I don't want to see that. I want to see, what don't we want to see? Well, maybe we don't want to see the internal walls, but actually the internal walls are quite handy. But let's just hide some of these walls. And so I can just hide the stairs. There we are. So I've just hidden some information. I've left my plumbing and drainage behind because I want to keep it there. And I'm just going to leave it like that. So that's a way of changing that. Now the other thing you can do with these, you might see there's a bit too much detail going on here. So why don't we look at classes, and we'll start to look at our wall component classes. And we might say we don't want to see the baseboard, we don't want to see the balustrade, don't want to see the cavity, don't want to see the rendering. In fact, we don't want to see any of those components. And let's preview that to make sure we're happy about it. Oh yeah, that's much better. So now we just get a very solid looking building. There's no, not too many lines together. And I just need to dimension it. So let's edit my annotations. And I'm going to just use, because I want the dimensions to be parallel to this line here. So let's go and get my dimension tool. So from there, I want that to be perpendicular to there. That's cool. And from there, I want it to be perpendicular across here. So I want to be there and there. So there's a couple of setting out dimensions that should help the contractor get that in the right place. And you don't forget your snap loop, perpendicular there. And from there down to here, perpendicular. I want that to be perpendicular as well. That must be about there. Cool. Now, if these buildings here are in the way, don't forget you can also go back to your visibility tool and just hide individual parts that you don't want. So I don't want to see that and I don't want to see that because they're just in the way. The other two are fine. So now I've added annotations to that. It's a lot more meaningful for me. My north arrow's there. Okay, let's have a look. Foundation plan. There's a lot of information here. Most of it's what we want. We're missing some notes about the plumbing and drainage. And if we get time, we'll come back to that. We're going to have a look at our floor plan. You can see that's a perspective view. This is the clip cube that I was trying to do just before. So let's edit my camera. And there's my clip cube there. And what I should be able to do is just pull that down, return to my viewport, update it, and it should show the revised clip cube. I don't understand. That's supposed to work. Okay, let's carry on. This is what have we got here? We've got something wrong with this. So let's edit my crop, and that's where it should be. So I'll just delete that crop. That gives me my house plan. I'm going to rotate the view so that it's square on the page. So I'm just rotating that so it's square on the page so it matches all the others. One of the tricks I often use to get the square on the page, let's go back to plan 2. Let's change that to a plan view. Because that should be the roof, the other one. So this is going to be set 3D view, custom view. It's going to be top plan. There it is there. And I really want to rotate that round. So that's got needs to be cropped. Let's go and edit my crop object. Where is it? Is there a crop object there? If I select all, nothing's there. So let's create a rotated rectangle approximately right. So we want it to be about in line with that. We want to be able to see some of this information, so I'll just stretch that out. And okay. Now I really want this to line up. Ideally this should line up with the floor below. I don't know why it's rotated poorly, so I need to rotate that back again. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, but I'm often using keyboard shortcuts to speed up my workflow. So let's put that there. So how do I get this plan to line up perfectly on the page with the floor below? There's my floor below. It's at a different scale. Let's put them both at the same scale. Now last week when I did this, I found out that this was just a bit too big. So I went to 1 to 100 or to some other size that I had. Now this corner here is going to be the same on both drawings. Let's go back to this and let's check that size of that text. 12-point text, that's probably about right, but I'll need to bring these further away. And if we look at this carefully, we've got a single dimension here. That's my overall. Then I've got this dimension, which is not a chain dimension. You'll notice that's not a chain dimension. That dimension there, that was for the window. So let's put that back to, so this is going to be put that back to there. Use the snap loop. Okay, so that's the size of my current garage. So let's right click, add some dimensions, hit the Z key, so there, and I want to snap to the core of the wall. So if you want to snap to the core of the wall, make sure you make that wall a component with a core so that you can easily snap to it. And I just need to zoom in and click there again to stop drawing anymore. So that's a neat trick you can do with chain dimensions. What I like about them is that you can move them up and down and they all move together. Okay, so I just have a dimension here for the window. I'm going to go back to my dimension tool, use the chain dimension, and from there to there, that's the first dimension. And then the next one is there, double click. Oh, that could be better. So this dimension here, I'm not going to play too much with dimensions. That's a whole new session we should have. So if you've got any questions about what I'm doing, don't forget to drop a comment. I am looking at the comments, so let me know. So what we needed to have was, I need to have something that I can use to line up all of my views on my plans. I'm going to use something called a 2D locus. A 2D locus is a non-printing element. If I zoom in and put a 2D locus there, that's right on the corner of my building. Now if I copy that, and then we go to the next drawing, the floor plan 2, there it is, I'm going to go paste in place, and it puts my locus back where it belonged. Now I know that this wall here lines up with the blockwork below, so I can move that viewport across, and now I'll know that those two line up on the page. So let's just have a look. You can see the walls, they all line up. So that's really cool. So back to this, I need to edit my crop. I want to get rid of some of the stuff that's there. In fact, some of the stuff I could get rid of easily just by turning off its layer. So we come down here, we find the site model layer. Don't want to see that. Preview it just to check. Yep, that's cool. Now the roof I'd like to see. So let's turn the roof off, preview, but that doesn't look right because the roof is now solid. I can't see my walls. Ideally, I should set up my roof so it's using a class, and then what I can do with my class is I can edit that class. Oh, still looking at layers. Sorry, let's go back to classes. Now my roof is on a class called roof main, I hope. Roof main, there it is there. I'm going to edit that class. And what I want that to be is no fill, and I want it to have a grey line instead. Okay, let's preview it, and now you can see through it and you can see my roof outline. So that's cool. Now that 2D locus that I placed there, I really want that 2D locus to be on the outside of my roof so that I can copy that, go to my roof plan, paste in place again. Let me just show you. Edit. Paste in place. I always use the keyboard shortcut now. So paste in place, there's my keyboard shortcut. Now I can drag my viewport from there to there. And now what we should find is when we go from one view to the other, you can see that my roofs line up, which is really cool. I don't need those loci. Now, if those loci bother you, by all means get rid of them. If they don't bother you, then just leave them there. And now I look at that, so just a bit. What scale is that? Oh, I better put the locus back. Let's copy that locus. Different scale I noticed. So 1 to 100 we're using before. I just noticed that this is going an awful long way over there. 1 to 100 scale. Now it moves. Paste my locus back. Grab that viewport. Stick it onto the locus. I've got a problem with this, which is my label. 0 degrees. And line up my label there. How are we getting on so far? Not bad. Drawings are looking a little bit nicer. There's my roof plan. That should really be 1 to 100 again. Now this is rotated the wrong direction as well, so I need to fix that. So what's our scale? So let's make that 1 to 100 again. Let's rotate that 90 degrees. There's a rotate 90 degrees command I use a lot. I found it. Rotate left 90 degrees. Now I've only ever learnt the rotate left, and if I need to rotate something right, I'll just do it 3 times. I know, it's terrible. So let's paste in place again. There's our locus. So that corner of my viewport should be there. So now as I start to look through the drawings, they all line up. That looks much nicer when you're looking at them on site and you're flicking through the drawings. They're all in the same location on the page. Okay, so let's grab that. Put that there. I'll just rotate that 3 times. And so that's my floor framing, and that should really be my roof framing plan. There, that's better. Okay, so I've got my roof framing plan. I've got my grids. That's my floor framing plan there. 1 to 100. There. Rotate left 90 degrees. Paste in place. And stick that on there. That's better. And so no one's asked me yet, but I keep jumping into my annotations really quickly. And what I do is I right click on a viewport. I choose edit, and I say here double click edits the annotations, and it's really quick for me to get into the annotations. I just double click. So that's my floor framing plan. Floor framing plan. Cool. And I've got my walls underneath, so I can see my walls underneath that are supporting this area. Okay, now we're up to elevations. So I'm going to start with sections. I've got no sections at the moment. I've got some section notes. We can talk about those. If you want to know about my notes, drop a comment and I'll talk about my notes. But I want to go back to floor plan 1. I want to draw a section floor plan 2. This is where my stairs are here, right there. So what I'd like is I'd like a section through here and a section through that area. So let's get our section tool. So we select. Now the trick is select your viewport first. Then we're going to go to view on the menu bar and we're going to create a section viewport. Now I want to set a section viewport through this area looking back towards the existing building. Now I can also choose how much of this do I need to see. So for example, I don't need to see the entire building beyond because the most important part is this part here. So I can click again, come down, double click, and now it's going to do my section. Now hopefully it's going to put the arrow in the right direction, but we'll see. So this is section A. It's going to create on layer called sections. Use my drawing label. This is section A-A. We want hidden line render, background render settings. We've got advanced properties here, and we can tell it that we want our length range to be limited by a section line length. So that's a cool trick. Limited by section line length is just saying to Vectorworks, the line I drew, that's how long I want my section. If you choose infinite, it's going to go right through my site model, right through everything. So let's leave that. We got a finite height, or an infinite height. Now if you know the height, you can put in finite. I'm going to use infinite for that. Extents beyond the cut plane. If we want to have so many meters back or so many feet back, then we could do that. So we could have a look at that. Infinite, it's going to show absolutely everything, including the houses beyond. We can leave it at finite depth. And we'll make it about 10 meters, or about, what's 10 meters? 30 feet. So 10 meters. So we got those settings. Let's go back to advanced properties, attributes. So I'm going to merge all my cross sections together. Now you can create separate cross sections using the attributes of the original objects and merging together all the structural things that are similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the profile, the attribute class. I think we've got one called section style. Cool. So objects beyond the cut plane. We want to use a section style for that as well. And I use one called section style faded. And it just fades all the lines beyond the section line. So let's have a look at that. So first of all, I'm going to use merge cross sections and we'll see how that works out. Okay, and we can choose elevation benchmarks if we want. So do we want to have the finished floor? Then we can tick. Where's the tick gone? Use benchmark. I was hoping I could choose. There, it's supposed to give me an option to use that one. But let's leave that alone. If I'd set this up using stories, then I could use the benchmarks much more easily. So let's go OK. Where's my section gone? It's way, oh, there it is down there. Okay, so now it hasn't shown everything that I wanted to see. If we have a look here, I've got layers. So what layers did we miss? Well, we missed the slab, we missed the floor, we missed the roof. And maybe we should see the site model as well. Let's OK that and we'll update. Cool, so now you can see that information there. And you can see that's my structural or my outline that way. Now my section style. Let's have an edit that. I've got a pattern for my line. Let's have a solid line for my graphic properties for section style. No, back to the pattern for that. Oh, I just cancel. I need to do that again. I was thinking I was in the wrong place. Let's go back and we'll do it again. Let's edit that. Okay, that's fine. It's this style here. I want that to have a solid line, 0.5, nice and heavy. There, that's better. So we've got the hard fill to go in here, and you can see how, now that I've done this, you can see how the faded lines are sort of quite light behind. This is heavy because I've actually cut right through it, and that looks a bit weird. So what about my visibility tool? I wonder if I can just hide that object. No, it doesn't want to hide just that one object. Let's update and we'll see if I can do it. I just wanted to hide that. Just want to hide the furniture. No, it's going to hide the entire thing. Yeah, that's not good. Okay, now my lines are going too far up. It's these ones here which is causing my issue. Now let's go into our annotations. Let's grab that dot there. If I pull that down, this is my guideline or my grid line. So what I can do is bring all those down. And line up with that one there, and do the same with the other one as well. And you can see it's actually they were really pretty big, and I'm going to bring them up as well. I don't want them to go all the way through. And hit the Z key. It's going to line up with that one. And this one, I'm going to line up the same one again, and zoom in, line up with that one there. Now I could crop my view if I wanted to, so I just get a rectangle. I need to right click first, edit crop. Where's my crop going? So I'm going to put my crop around here. Just a rectangle will do the job I want. And let's exit the viewport crop. Let's have a look. So that's looking okay. It's a little small, so let's improve the size of that. Let's make it 1 to 50. So there's my view there. You can see I might need to crop that again. So right click, let's edit my crop. I'm going to cut some of that away. All right. So I've now got one of my sections. I just need to update it. Now one of the issues we've got is, where does the section line appear? If we have a look through our drawings, we haven't got any section lines there. We should have, no, maybe not there, but there should be a section line showing a section line that people can look at. Now it's there. We've got this section viewport. The scale of that's just a little bit big. It's also a little bit close because I want to have some dimensions. So we should have that over there. Where's my gapped line? Use gapped line. There we are. The scale of that's also a little bit big, so 0.8, can make them slightly smaller. Now this particular viewport is the only one that's showing my section lines. Let's select our section viewport, and we're going to choose section line instances. This is where you're telling Vectorworks where these should appear. Now if you want to see that section line on a design layer, then make sure you tick that so it turns up on a design layer. But just because you turn it on a design layer doesn't make it turn up in a viewport. Doesn't matter what class you put it on. Here under viewports, we might want that to turn up on, now can you see my naming here? The way I've named these, it's now difficult for me to figure out, oh, that's my foundation plan, first floor. I'd have no idea what viewport that is. I got a feeling I want it there maybe. Where's my roof plan? There's nothing here that tells me that's the roof. So it's a really good idea to make sure that you check the names of your viewports. This one here, floor framing plan, viewport. So that should be the floor framing plan. That makes sense. This should be my roof framing plan. So let's make sure we put that in roof framing plan viewport. What about the next one up? This should be my roof plan. It says floor plan, but that's really a roof plan. So let's fix that, and we'll call that a roof plan. And now, you know, I'm lazy, so I just go copy, and then I'm going to paste it here and go paste, and get rid of the 2 at the end. Okay, what about the next view? What's this one? This should be floor plan number 2, but it doesn't say that. It should say second floor plan. Second floor plan. Second floor plan. Okay, so let's grab that, copy that, paste it, put the VP at the end of it. That should be good. Let's go to the next one up. This one should be first floor view. So this is first floor plan VP. Copy that. This drawing title should be first floor plan. There's no label here, so I'm going to have to get a label and put a label in. Now, if we go back to our section, let's have a look at this view here. We're going to go and look at our section line instances. Now, I know I'm taking a lot of time with this area, but this is an area that really causes people trouble. Where do these section line instances appear? Now, we should find it much easier to know where they should be. Do we want them on the roof framing plan? Yep. The floor framing plan? Yep. Site plan? No. Barge detail? No. There we are. So now my section line instances are going to turn up where I want them to. You can see there they're all showing up. So back to my floor plan. I need another viewport, another section line. So I've selected it again. View, create section viewport. I actually want to go right through the middle of my stairs. So I need to come over just a little bit like that, right down here through the stairs. And hopefully everything's the same. Now, what I could do, of course, is I could use my section style from the other section. So let's go back to my sections here. Let's get this section. It's not a style, but we could change that into a style. Let's create a new style based on that one. We'll call it section style. Section. Oh, it's a viewport, so section style. I don't have to put viewport in there. So section style. Interior, exterior elevation. It's going to have a drawing label. Now these options here are saying that everything's controlled by the style. So the drawing label, we may want to have that. The layers and classes, we will have to edit these because we don't know whether the right things are on there. The scale should be 1 to 100. The level of detail, we want that to be high. We don't want to display flattened. Display extents, hidden line render. And let's go down to advanced properties. So we've got here merge, section style faded, that's good, extents, infinite, infinite, infinite there. So it's doing all this as infinite extents. So let's have a look. We've got lighting options, advanced properties. We've done that, haven't we? Display. Okay. 3D conversion resolution. Let's make that very high. Now, if you want to, you can bump up the line scale on these things. We'll have a look at that if that's useful. And let's go OK. Name's already in use. Section style for viewports. I must have already used this once before. Oh, yeah, no, I just got confused. Let's edit that. That should have been 1 to 50. You're right. I changed it. So that's brought that back. So now if I go back to my drawing, let's go back to floor 1, floor 2. I guess it doesn't matter. Let's create a section now. We're going to go view, create section viewport, and we're going to start about here, cut through the stair, looking this way, click, click, and we're going to use from this file section style for viewport. So there we are. And the name of the section, this is section B. Section B-B. And we're going to create it on sections. See, my layers are now flexible, so I can add those pieces in that I need. I need the ceiling, I need the foundations, I need the site model. Okay, but I'll also be able to change the classes. So I'll be able to come back and make those changes. But I can't change any of this. Okay, so that. It's making the section. And I'm going to need to crop this section. So let's go right click, and we're going to edit the crop. And I don't want to see anything outside. There we are. So I just want to crop this. I need to have my stairs in there. Back to my rectangle tool. I just need to crop that much, because that's all I really want to show. My label is way down here somewhere. Let's get my label and move it close to where it needs to be. Let's line up the ridge with that ridge. That should line. Oh, there's my floors line up now. So if I align that ridge to that point there, so my floors should line up. And we're going to be a little bit tight here. Yeah, just a bit tight. So here my stairs are not showing up. So we need to have a look to see what we can do with the stairs. Now I need to move these up so they're out of the way of my notes, because I do have some notes to put in. So I just want to move that vertically. All right. So in this particular viewport, we're missing the stairs. So I'm not sure I can use my visibility tool. It didn't seem to work last time. So let's go and just look at classes. My stairs should all be under vertical transport. Let's turn those on. Preview. Yeah, there we are. Okay. And then update. So it's just updating. There we are. So that's the way of creating your sections. And we're going to run out of time again today. Let's edit the crop, and we'll bring that in. And now this time I need to turn on so I can see my background. Right, there we are. So there we are. So that gives me my section. I've got furniture turned on, but I can turn that off. I've got the stairs come up. It would be nice to have a wall through here. That's the handrail going around. So sometimes I use the sections to do a lot of design work. I do, yeah. Okay, so we're getting close to the end of time, I'm afraid. So let's have a look at one elevation. So I'm going to go back to my floor plan. I just want to do one elevation. Let's do this elevation here. So I'm going to go back to View, Create Section. I've got to select it. So select that. View, Create Section, Viewport. I'm going to cut my section through there, looking that way. Now hopefully it would be good. Oh, I've got a question. Yay! Thank you, Graham. I've been waiting weeks for a question, so thank you very much. You've got a question where you render the viewports and your file size has jumped from 100 megabytes. Let me just finish this. So let's have a look. Do I have an elevation? I might be able to use one of these ones. Maybe have I got one called North Elevation? Let's select that. Replace the line type. So I've actually brought that in from my library. Let's see what that does. Let's go. Oh, I don't know where I put it. Where did I put it? Oh, there. So that should be on the. I've put on the completely wrong layer. Sorry, Graham. I was so excited with your question. I've completely forgotten what I was supposed to be doing. So let's put that on the elevations. So one of the questions I got for you, or one of my answers would be, when you do your rendered viewports, have you chosen to do, let's look at our document preferences. There's a thing for saving the render cache. Where's mine? Save model cache, save display out of date border. I quite like having that turned on. Dimensions, resolution. The other thing is checking the DPI that you've got for those rendered viewports. Plane shadows, legacy. No, I thought it was under here. Oh, there it is. I found it. So, Graham, just try this. What happens if you turn that off when you save the file? Now, the downside of turning that off when you save the file is when you open the file, the viewports are no longer registered. No longer rendered. If you turn this on, your viewports are rendered when you open them. They probably still need updating when you go to print it, but this can add a lot to your file. So, Graham, if you wouldn't mind giving me a quick try. If you do it now, you've got time to answer me before the end of the session. So if you try that, Graham, let's just go back through that again. It's our preferences, and it's a document preference, and it's save viewport cache. I often save it, but I end up with files that are 600 megabytes. I've got some that have got point clouds in them, 700 megabytes for a file. I know that's big, but I also know that we're buying computers with more memory than we ever had. So have a look at that, Graham. Let me know, does that work? I'd really appreciate it if you told me whether that worked. I'll just type you a note. I'm gonna dictate this note. I'm too slow at typing. Hi Graham, thanks for your comment, could you try turning off the open quote save viewport cache? And see if that reduces your file size. All right, thanks Graham. Hopefully you can see my reply. Okay, so we were down doing elevations, and when I got here, I need to edit my layers and classes. So I'd need to turn the floor on, the slab, turn on the roof, turn on the site model. The site model is quite handy. Let's turn all of that on. Let's update it. Cool, I can see everything. So this again's got my, you can see I've got my guidelines again. And let's edit my annotations. Let's grab all those guidelines. Hopefully I can move them all at the same time. That would be quite cool. Let's do that option there. Let's grab those and we'll move them all down to there. And we'll grab the bottom of them, move the bottom of them all the way up to here. And then I need to right click. Let's edit the crop. Put in a rectangle, because I don't really want to see my entire site model. And let's move that across. Okay. And then that's my first elevation. Now one of the questions people have asked me is, how do I improve the line weight? Now there's nothing in Vectorworks at the moment that allows us to fade what's going on behind. Because it would be really nice if we could fade all of the building behind. Now we can't do that. That's not easy to do. It would be nice to put a heavy line around all of this area here. You can see that I've got some double lines and some heavy lines, and these are being developed by my wall style. My wall style has done those parts. But there are some parts where I just need to make them a little bit heavier. What would be one of the tricks? So let me show you one of my tricks, which is to use, I'm going to see if I can get a polyline. What I'd like to have is a polyline that, where's it gone? I want to use that one, the lasso mode. So what I really want is I want to have a line that goes around my building like that. I want that to be a heavy line. Now it's done too much, so let's get rid of that bit. This bit here hasn't gone quite far enough. It should actually come down a bit lower, but part of the issue is where my ground line is. So this is an object here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to use my reshape tool. I'm going to reshape some of these edges so it follows my ground line. Where are we? Over here. Let's pull that one down. And let's hide some of these. So I want to get rid of that corner. These ones want to come down. That one wants to come down to there. That one down to there. Okay. Now I'm going to leave that there for a moment, because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create, I want to make sure this looks a little faded. So what should we do? Well, let me just show you the trick I was going to use. So if we draw an area like this, and then I change its opacity. So you can see it's fading the stuff behind. Let's send that to the back. Let's grab this. And what I'll do is I'll just make that come up to that point there. So we've got that. That's my object going around. So I'm going to go and... Right, so let's grab that and that one, and we're going to go right click, clip surface. Now when I bring this one to the front, you can see it fades everything, but it won't fade anything in this area. So let's change that to have no fill. And so now you've got this nice trick here where you've got, this is faded. And you can change the fading on that. Then I've got a heavy line going around my building. So let's choose that heavy line there. Okay, there's another one. There's another polyline here. So J-click. I want that polygon there. That one. So send that one to the front, so it's at the front, so it's easy to select. We want that to have a slightly heavier line. You can see it's just pumped up a little bit. I also like putting heavy lines underneath things as well. So let's go back to nothing selected. Let's make this line slightly heavier, 0.25. And I'm going to use my polygon because it would be nice to draw under there. Oh, no, back to that mode. So I'm going to draw that line and give it no fill. And that'll help that lift a little bit. If we turn on zoom line weight, you can see it's really helping to do that. A line across here would really help as well. So we've got that line across there, so it really helps that to pop out a little bit in front of the other part of the building. Now ideally what I should do is to edit my classes for some of these other things. I've got a slab class, and that's making that slab look heavy through there. Let's look at our classes. There should be a slab class. Slab arrows, slab component. Let's turn off any slab arrows that are there. Let's get all of those slab parts there. Let's edit those, and let's give them a thin line. So black line, thin, no markers, just in case. Turn all the markers off. And let's see what that does. Let's update. So it still hasn't gotten rid of that. I don't know what's causing that heavy line there. Didn't get rid of it, but that's one of the tricks that I would try. So I thought that was kind of fun that we're starting to get some of that information in. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to start putting some annotations, some notes on here. This line here, let's give that line no line around the outside, and he'll just cause that line to fade out. So you can see I'm getting some sort of richness in my textures, or richness in my lines. Now the other thing that I've done is all work that I want the contractor to do is colored or textured. So for example, we're getting a brand new roof, we're getting that wall filled in, this is all new, but I only put these hatches on the new part of the building, and that helps me to show what's new and what's existing. All this is not being reclad, it's all existing, but all this with the hatching is new work. So let's get into our annotations. So we need to put some notes on. I'm going to get my call out tool. I'm going to go to my preferences here. Let's get text from the database. The Keynote legend is elevation notes, and we're going to place as Keynote. Place as Keynotes there, and I'm getting my text from a database. So let's go OK. So what do we want to do? We'll start at the top here and we'll say new roof. So I've divided my Keynotes or my note database into parts. So if I have a look here, there's a part, there should be a part here for roofing. So what are we going to put on here? This is, we want to have corrugated roofing. So this is 0.55 BMT. Yes, cool, that's a great note. So corrugated roofing. Okay, let's exit that. And you'll notice now down here that my elevation notes have started to expand, and there's my note, corrugated roofing. So let's do that again. And let's have another look. So let's do this, and we'll do, what's the next note we want? We want to put barge boards and flashings and stuff like that. So I want that light to go straight across. So we've got barge. Cool. We've got, maybe we've got a new garage door in here somewhere. So what I'm going to do is, so far I've been a little bit neat. So let's make those totally unneat like that. And let's put a garage door in. I don't know if I've got a note for a garage door. Where would that be? That would be under doors, which is 45 doors and windows. And there is nothing here. There's just this new. So let's go to our notes manager, doors and windows, and we're going to add a note which is going to be called new remote control. It's a folding. It's a folding or overhead folding garage door. With 1.2 insulation. We can get garage doors insulated now. Who knew? Now here we've got use the first 42 characters, and I'm just going to take that away, and I'm going to change that. I'm going to call it garage. No emoji. Thank you. Garage door. All right. Okay. Okay. Save changes. Yep. Yep. Let's choose garage door. Okay. So garage door. Now when I exit that, we should see there we've got my barge, got my garage door, and I can change. This is writing in 2 columns, which is quite cool. If I select that, I can change the width of some of these parts. I can change the font, I can change the style. Let's have a look here. I mean, it would be so nice if these all lined up neatly. So let's go modify, align, distribute leader lines. Okay, and I just draw a line down here and they all line up. So it's just a neat way of doing it. So that would be the way that I would start to annotate my drawings. Now we're just about out of time, so, and I've got a couple of questions, so I'd like to talk about those. The question is, so turning off the viewport cache helped to reduce the file size by 100 megabytes. So the other question is, would referencing the file into another file and creating viewports there? Well, the problem with that is that you're now adding additional trouble to the whole management of that file. Sure, you can try splitting the file up, but the problem is that if you add those 2 files together, you still end up with the same file size. And the other problem is if you start referencing, then you've got to start looking at how do you reference. So let's go up here and let's have a look at tools, organization, referencing. Now, then we've got to have a look at what kind of references you want to have. Do you want to have references that are layer import, design layer viewports, and do you want then, where's the other, there's an option there for the cache. Reference. So there's, the other problem is that when you reference files together, often what Vectorworks does is it imports the totality of that referenced file into your project. So you actually don't save much unless you turn off the option. There's an option to save viewport cache. Design layer viewports, layer import. Let's go OK. Right, and then I could reference something in. I don't really, Graham, I'm not really set up to do this, but if you want to get in touch with me privately and have a chat about that, get in touch. It is something I do a lot, the online help with people, and I do one-on-one training and I record it, and you can have them access to the movie, and that way we can look at your actual project. We can try different things out. If you want to look at referencing, there's a manual on my website. On my new community, there's a manual about referencing. It's something we're going to cover this year, I think, referencing. And but that would be my suggestion. I know people like to break the file up. I saw a project recently where the site model was separated from the building model, and then they were referenced together. But every time you go and make a change to the site or to the building, you've got to change between the files. Now, instead of having one file open, Graham, you've got to have 3 files open, and then you forget where you created it. Where did I put that part of the building? Is it in this reference or is it in that reference? There's times, Graham, where I think it's really cool to reference. I'm helping someone at the moment. They had a site with, I think, something like 4 different houses. They wanted to bring those houses, and in that case I did reference those. And that would be great in an office, because you could have 4 different people working, each person working on one house. You reference those to your site model, and the next stage after that is you can then move each house up and down individually. But my next trick after that would be, well, let's calculate the cut and fill of each house individually. Be really cool to do that. Now, I do need to do an advert. Thank you guys for being here for such a long time, for watching what I've been doing, but I'd really love to show you my website. I shouldn't really call it my website, I should really call it my community, because it's much more like a community than a website. So this is what's going on at the moment. We're talking about point clouds, and now we want to do a lighting request. We got some large files slowing us down. We're getting a lot of members. I'm really getting some really cool traction with this. I really recommend this. We're getting into some... here's all the courses that I've got in here. So if you want to learn Vectorworks, this is the best place to go. We've got courses for 3D modeling. And then every month I've got these classrooms where we get together. I make tips and tricks. I was asked the other day, we've got these ad hoc classes. I've got to upload something into there. But somebody asked me to do lighting. So yesterday I found all my old lighting stuff. Here's all my old lighting movies. I put them all in here. Got the manuals. So I've got a couple of manuals here. And then all the movies that relate to those manuals I've uploaded as well. So there's a huge amount of data here. Last time I counted, there was over 600 movies here. I thoroughly recommend it. It's really engaging. People are really starting to contribute. And I think it's great value for money. So come and join me, join the Vectorworks training school, and let's have a good time. If I didn't mention it before, there's about 6 classes each month. There's a class on getting started, there's a class on 3D modeling, a class on architect, this classroom here. And then when people say, could you add something to this, I start adding it. I've got all my library files here, and we've started adding these ad hoc classes. I've got to do graphics for this, but what's the benefits of materials over textures? So we're starting to generate some of that, some more information for people, and I'd love to see you all there. Thank you for watching, everybody. So those of you who gave up your 4th of July, I know it's a holiday if you're in America. I really appreciate you being here. So thank you very much.